The man who called 911 was breathless. His voice trembled. He said there was blood everywhere and that someone had broken into his home, that his wife was dead. At first, it sounded like a tragic home invasion. But then, the timeline didn't add up. The security system had been disabled. The blood on his shirt didn't match his story. And one forgotten file on a buried flash drive would reveal something unthinkable. That the terrified husband who begged for help was the one who planned the murder, down to the very second. This is the true story of a man who rehearsed grief, scripted innocence, and staged a crime so well, even police believed him, until the truth slipped through a crack in his perfect lie. Ridgewood was the kind of town where people still left their front doors unlocked. The kind of place where the mailman knew your dog's name and the high school principal coached Little League on weekends. Nestled between pine-covered hills and the quiet hum of the Rogue River, Ridgewood hadn't seen a murder in nearly a decade. So when the news broke that Claire Dawson, a beloved local realtor, had been found murdered in her own home, it didn't just send a ripple through the community. It tore through it like a forest fire. But what made it worse wasn't just the crime. It was who made the call. Mark Dawson, Claire's husband, a man Ridgewood admired, a man everyone trusted. Mark and Claire Dawson had been married 10 years. Mark was the town's favorite history teacher at Ridgewood High. He had a way of making the Civil War sound like a blockbuster movie. Tall, clean-shaven, quick to laugh, with a disarming charm that made him instantly likable. Claire sold homes, but her real work, people said, was building lives. She ran Ridgewood's annual food drive, volunteered at the shelter, hosted wine nights for the PDA. Everyone loved Claire. Together, they were the couple you rooted for, the kind that made people believe in marriage. So when a 911 call came in at 6:17 a.m. on January 3rd, 2023, it didn't just shatter the Dawson household. It shattered the town's idea of safety. Dispatcher, 911, what's your emergency? Mark, frantic, my wife. Claire, she's not breathing. There's blood all over the floor. I think someone broke in. Dispatcher, is she conscious? Mark, no. She's cold. Oh God, I think she's dead. When officers arrived at 47 Chestnut Lane less than 6 minutes later, they found Mark in the hallway, sitting on the hardwood floor, his hands stained red. Claire was in the kitchen, face down, blunt force trauma to the back of her head. One arm twisted awkwardly beneath her. No pulse, no weapon in sight. The back door hung open, and the man who'd made the call, the devastated husband, was the only one in the house. Detective Linda Reyes arrived on scene at 7:02 a.m. She'd seen a lot in her 14 years with the Ridgewood Police Department. Carjackings, domestic disputes, even a cold case arson. But this was different. The house wasn't ransacked. There were no signs of forced entry. No valuables taken. Nothing stolen. No broken windows. No muddy footprints. Just the door ajar. Claire's injuries suggested she'd fought back. Defensive wounds on her arms. Blood spatter on the refrigerator. A smear on the countertop where she'd tried to stand. And then there was Mark. He wasn't crying. He wasn't trembling. His face was still. Too still. I woke up and she was like that, he kept saying. I thought maybe it was a fall. But Reyes noticed something. Mark's white t-shirt didn't just have blood on it. It had mist-like droplets. High-velocity spatter. The kind that doesn't happen after the fact. It happens when you're there, when the blow lands. Mark agreed to come down to the station for a statement. Not under arrest. Not even as a suspect. Just a devastated husband cooperating with police. At first, his story was clean. I fell asleep grading papers around 11. Claire stayed up to watch something in the living room. I woke up around 6 to get coffee and found her in the kitchen. He said he tried CPR. He said he panicked and opened the back door to see if someone had broken in. But when asked to look at his phone, he hesitated. That was the moment Detective Reyes knew something wasn't right. She got a warrant. The data from Mark's phone painted a very different picture. He'd unlocked his phone at 2:38 a.m., despite saying he was asleep. His smart thermostat recorded a sudden temperature drop at 2:59 a.m., consistent with the back door being opened. Even more damning, The home security system showed it had been manually disabled at 2:41 a.m. using Mark's unique PIN. When confronted, Mark shrugged. I don't remember. Maybe I couldn't sleep. But the more they looked, the deeper it went. Search history from the night before. Can blunt trauma cause instant death? How to stage a home break-in. How long after death does a body get cold? Still, there was no murder weapon. No eyewitness. Just circumstantial evidence. For a case this serious, that wasn't enough. Then came the forensics report. The shirt Mark wore during the 911 call had been preserved and tested. Blood pattern analysis revealed high-velocity impact spatter across the chest and shoulders, suggesting he was near Claire at the moment of impact. This couldn't be explained by CPR or cradling a dead spouse. And then came the real break. A neighbor, Jane Willis, came forward with a strange piece of footage. Her Ring doorbell camera across the street caught a shadowy figure walking from the Dawson house toward the woods at 3:17 a.m., carrying what looked like a heavy object wrapped in cloth. It wasn't clear enough to confirm identity, but the direction? It pointed toward a wooded area just past Ridgewood High School. A search party was dispatched. 3 days later, beneath a bed of pine needles and rocks, officers recovered a cast-iron skillet, caked in dry blood, a match for the Dawson kitchen set. The fingerprints on the handle had been wiped, but under the rim, hidden by years of grease buildup, was a partial marks, and beneath the skillet, a plastic bag. Inside, they found a bloodied towel, a pair of latex gloves, and a flash drive. What was on that flash drive would change everything. Detectives rushed the flash drive to the forensics lab. Hopes were low. Most killers don't leave digital diaries. But when the tech team cracked it open, they found 2 files. A folder named Lesson Plans. A hidden folder inside it, named _Claire Plan. Inside were notes, drafts, voice recordings, even screenshots. Mark had been planning something for months. One of the Word docs was titled, Break-in Script, Rehearsal Ver 2. It read like a script, word-for-word dialogue. There's blood everywhere. I think someone broke in. No, she's not breathing. I think she's gone. Another doc was labeled Backup Story, Alibi Timeline. It laid out minute-by-minute events for January 3rd, including reminders like, wake up before 6, look groggy on doorcam, turn on phone at 6:10, call 911 at 6:15. It was chilling, meticulous, rehearsed. Buried in the same folder was a series of screenshots from a bank app, a life insurance portal, and a dating app. Just 3 months before Claire's death, Mark had taken out a $500,000 life insurance policy on her, listing himself as the sole beneficiary. The app screenshots showed him months behind on credit card bills. His checking account had less than $90 in it. And the dating app? Mark's profile wasn't just active. He'd been messaging women less than 48 hours before Claire's death, including Elise Monroe, a former student. She was about to become a key witness. Elise Monroe was 26, a barista at a local coffee shop. Bright-eyed, soft-spoken. She'd met Mark years ago in AP history. When he reached out to her on the dating app under the alias M_Hawk82, she was flattered until she found out who it really was. They began seeing each other discreetly in early 2022. She told detectives. He said the marriage was dead, that Claire didn't understand him, that he needed time. But the week before Claire's death, she said something changed in Mark. He started asking if I'd ever move away, if I'd start over with someone new. He said everything would be easier soon. When police showed her the messages from the flash drive, her face went pale. She had no idea. When news broke that Mark Dawson had been arrested, not as a witness, but as the prime suspect in his wife's murder, the town went into freefall. Half the town refused to believe it. He's a good man. He loved Claire. This is a mistake. The other half? They remembered the look on his face, the calm, the rehearsed sadness, and they started to ask the question Ridgewood was afraid to say out loud. Had Mark Dawson fooled everyone all along? Among the flash drive's audio files was a chilling 27-second voice memo. It was recorded at 2:55 a.m. on January 3rd, the morning Claire was killed. It was Mark's voice, whispering, "If you're hearing this, then something went wrong. I didn't plan for it to be like this, but I need a reset. She'll be gone soon. No more lies. No more fighting. Just freedom. He never sent it, but he saved it. And now, it was the most damning evidence they had. Detective Reyes listened to it 3 times before saying a word. He wanted to be caught, she finally said. On some level, he wanted someone to know. With the audio confession, the buried weapon, and the flash drive, the DA convened a grand jury within days. Mark Dawson was arrested at his brother's cabin, 40 miles outside Ridgewood, where he'd been clearing his head. He didn't resist, didn't say a word. When reporters yelled questions, he just lowered his head. Claire's sister, Emily, stood behind the police tape that day, holding a framed photo of Claire at her wedding. He kissed her with that same mouth, she told the press. He said, I do with those same hands. The state of Oregon versus Mark Dawson began on May 2nd, 2024. It was a media circus. Mark walked into the courtroom in a gray suit. No handcuffs, no emotion. The prosecution built a timeline so airtight it left the jury stunned. 2:38 a.m., Mark unlocks his phone. 2:41 a.m., disables home security. 2:55 a.m., records chilling voice memo. 3:02 a.m., Claire is attacked in the kitchen. 3:17 a.m., caught on doorbell cam walking into the woods. 6:17 a.m., calls 911 with rehearsed lines. They showed the voice memo. They read the fake alibi script aloud. And when they revealed the life insurance policy, half the courtroom gasped. Mark's attorney tried to argue mental instability, stress, financial pressure, marital problems, a psychotic break. But the evidence didn't support a spontaneous crime. It was cold. It was calculated. And it was documented in his own words. Claire's best friend, Jill, took the stand and sobbed. She told me she was scared. She said something in him had changed, but she didn't want to believe he could ever hurt her. On June 4th, 2024, the jury returned after just 5 hours of deliberation. Guilty. First-degree murder. Premeditated. With special circumstances. Mark showed no reaction. He didn't flinch. When asked if he had anything to say before sentencing, he simply replied, "She was going to leave me. I couldn't let her." The judge sentenced him to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Claire was laid to rest in a cemetery overlooking the river. Hundreds came. Her family launched the Claire Foundation, providing housing assistance for women leaving toxic relationships. Detective Reyes, now a sergeant, says it's the case that changed her forever. He didn't snap. He scripted it. He built a tragedy with the same hands he used to grade papers and hold his wife's hand. 6 months after the trial, a former student published a memoir titled, "Mr. Dawson Lied to Us." In it, he wrote, "He taught us about heroes and villains, about good men doing bad things for the right reasons. We just didn't know we were living in his final lecture." He called 911 to report crime, but he was the crime. The voice of the killer was the same voice begging for help. In Ridgewood, it learned that evil doesn't always wear a mask. Sometimes it wears a wedding ring. What do you think really happened? Drop your theories below.